So after the Battle of Trenton on December 26th, Washington got his troops rallied up and they went back across the Delaware expecting the British to come and attack in force. The British did not come and attack in force. The British actually waited, and their hesitancy really cost them. So what happens next is that Washington's like, hey, let's roll the dice again. And he moves to the main force of the British. He's going to move back across the Delaware into Trenton. On January 2nd, General Cornwallis, who is one of the best generals the British has, he's like the top guy, he is going to attack Washington back at Trenton in a battle called the Battle of Assumption Creek. It's just outside the town of Trenton where Washington had his troops dug in, and Washington repels the British attack. Now, that's the first time Washington had met up with British regulars. The Battle of Trenton, remember, was the Hessians. So he comes through, he decides to, after defeating Cornwallis on January 2nd at Assumption Creek, Cornwallis stays because Cornwallis is going to attack again the next night. But everything changes. Washington sneaks his men around Cornwallis to attack Princeton, which is 6 miles farther up the road. Cornwallis brought about 5,000 troops with him, but he left his base here at Princeton, what is now Princeton University, with 1,500 men. So Washington sneaks around and he comes through these woods, and he is going to be met on the battlefield. And this is going to be, and you know, it's a 7-mile march, so it's not like it's a real long ways that he had to go. But I don't know, you guys march 7 miles in the winter time, see how you like it, carrying guns and rifles. The amount of miles these guys marched all the time is just staggering to me. You know, I drove for 5 hours yesterday down here to New Jersey from up in Massachusetts, and it's a long ways, you know, and I drove it. These guys walked everywhere. But Washington comes through these woods, and we're about a mile away from Princeton, and he is going to meet on this battlefield for the first time face to face in European style fighting. And you can see behind me this field. This is what Europeans like to fight on. March straight at one another, take turns shooting each other. That was the way. And this battlefield, it's a beautiful sight, and they say that the Battle of Princeton was man for man some of the most fierce fighting in the entire Revolution. And they stretched out along this battlefield. Princeton is back up behind me, behind those trees. And the defeat of the regular British army here, the British decide to retreat out of Princeton and out of New Jersey altogether, and it is a big uplifting victory. Not only the victory at Trenton on December 26th, but 10 days later to win here on January 6th, 1777. Well, that spring, a whole lot more Americans joined the fight. That winter, all of his guys whose enlistment were supposed to end on December 31st, they all rejoined, and the war was going to make it a little bit longer.